It's Matt Roush.
And Mike Brennan.
And we're back with another edition of the M Squared TechCast through our friends at Podcast Detroit and MITechNews.TV.
And we have a fellow U of M person here. I do that because Matt's a Michigan State fan. And Thomas Zurbuchen. Thomas is, let me get the correct title. He is the Associate Administrator of NASA's Science Mission Directorate. And essentially it's his team that put the Mars Rover Perseverance on Mars last week. Did I get that right, Thomas?
Yeah, you're right. It's something like 10 days ago. We landed on the surface of Mars, and we did so after a journey of almost 7 months, which is the distance it takes to get off the launch pad and down there at Kennedy until we're landing on Mars. I'm very proud of the team, but yes, it's our team, and I'm very proud of them.
All right, great. Now, Matt has his Mars Rover screen on the background there. I noticed that. And he also raised his hand and he says if you need somebody to go to Mars in the future, Matt wants on board. I know he wouldn't fit into the rover, but hey, keep it in mind.
Yeah.
Keep it in mind. Absolutely, Matt. You got it.
All right,
okay.
Thank you.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that. I know we're 10 days into this, but it is quite an accomplishment. I know that also there was 2 other rovers packages set up there. I think one from Asia and one from the UAE. So it's a little crowded up there, huh?
Yeah, so right now we're on the surface of Mars with Perseverance. Many people may not have remembered that we also have another rover up there. It's called Curiosity. It's been there for nearly a decade. And then we have a lander up there who's kind of really called InSight, which is listening right now to the inside of Mars and Marsquakes and so forth. We have a couple missions in orbit around Mars. That's just the US. In addition to that, there's 2 orbiters from Europe. And just in the last month or so, an orbiter from the United Arab Emirates, in collaboration with the US, joined into orbit. They have no intention of landing. And the Chinese, they entered into orbit, and they're basically doing what we did 50 years ago with the Viking. So they went into orbit, and they're going to crank down the orbit and attempt a landing in the June timeframe. That's what they told us, May to June timeframe. But you're right, it's getting crowded. It's a really exciting planet in many ways. It's a planet that is really many of our aspirations and hopes are attached to it. But yes, it's crowded, and that's good.
Tell us, if you would, some of the ways this rover, the one that landed 10 days ago, is sort of superior to the earlier ones and will be able to do more science.
The first thing is that the landing that we did, frankly, has no precedent in history. We used a kind of AI-enabled, kind of vision control-enabled landing mechanism, which is what we want to use also when we land humans in the future sometime. So it's a totally new technology. Where we're landing, which is Jezero Crater, we would have never been able to land with any of the other technologies we had before. It's just not accurate enough. It's too dangerous. But what we're really doing from the science perspective, if we're building on decades of research, and we're asking a question in Jezero Crater, which is a very unique site. And the question is, 3 billion years ago, when water was flowing there on the surface, at the same time there was water flowing on the surface on Earth, was there life that started to evolve, single cell life, just like it did on Earth? So it's really a question about what we call astrobiology. That's at the heart of it. It's really the search for fossil extinct life from 3 billion years ago. That's at the heart of it. Everything else is in support of that question. It's a question, of course, that has been with us for millennia. The issue the philosophers dream about and scientists, we're starting to address it.
So this is preparatory to actually men landing on Mars at some point in the future. I know Elon Musk has made a big deal about what he's wanting to go up there. What's NASA's plans for getting men on Mars in the future?
So what first thing we're going to do with the robotic world, which is what the robots are always first, because it's a lot easier to lose a robot than a human, right? A loved mother or wife or husband or father, right? We always want to learn with robots. So what we're going to do with this rover that we just landed, we're actually going to bring the samples back, which will be the first round trip to Mars. So there's a lot of technology. I already told you about the landing technologies. We're also learning about how to take breathable oxygen out of the atmosphere, which is an instrument on this rover. So there's specific things we're learning. In terms of human exploration, what we're doing as an agency is we're actually taking astronauts that have been in orbit, without stop for 20 years in the International Space Station, which frankly is a miracle of international cooperation. But we're taking those and going to the moon with it. And so for me, for all of us, the fastest way to Mars is through moon, right? We want to learn again what we knew 50 years ago when, Buzz Aldrin and Armstrong were on the surface. We want to learn that again and then basically build the infrastructure towards Mars. So that's really what our plan is both from the technology perspective, learning the things, I call them miracles, the things we have no clue what to do. But, just like whether it's a startup or, a technology innovation, go figure them out. So we're taking care of these miracles. That's what I'm doing. But then in parallel, really build the infrastructure to go to the moon and then to Mars.
So when is the first flight? I know you this rover carried along a helicopter that is able to fly even in the very thin Martian atmosphere. When is the first flight of that scheduled?
Well, we look forward to that. You're right. The Ingenuity helicopter, it's our Wright brothers moment, extraterrestrial Wright brothers moment, the first controlled flight in a different world. So right now where we actually landed really in a challenging spot. Thank God for that technology. So we have ahead of us a dune field and behind us rocks. And so we're actually going to go on a search to go figure out where the best place is to fly it. If I had to guess right now, it's probably going to be early April is probably the best guess. It's just because we want to fly it in a parking lot, a high school parking lot. That's where we would fly a new thing like this, right? So we're finding the Mars equivalent of that somewhere where it's flat, not rocks in the way everywhere. And of course, what we're going to do is set up the rover so we can take a movie of that flight. And then in reverse, have the camera of the helicopter look back at the rover and take a movie of the first flight, which will be straight up and then straight down. So that's the first flight. As I said, late March, early April is my best guess at this moment in time.
And how far? What's the plan in terms of where the rover is going to go? How far is it going to go over its design life?
Oh, we're going to have several kilometers, or multiple miles that we're going to go. We're going to go 3 times faster than Curiosity, which was the fastest rover so far. And our goal is really to go look at various. So if I was a geologist, I will call those geologic units. Those are different places. Like, for example, we're going to go where that river delta is. I'm sure we're going to dig down there. But then also we want to go in the adjacent places, right? And figure out like things that look more like sedimentary, away from it, or also some of the more volcanic things of which we seem to see some from space. Looking down with a camera, we see some ideas. So that requires that we drive for a few miles, just because they don't sit right on top of each other. Within a good 2 years or so, we want to have samples that we've collected and deposited on the surface of Mars, because what we're trying to do in 26, 28 is go there and pick them up.
All right, so you were saying moon first, then Mars. When do you think people will be going back to the moon? How many years ahead?
Well, I think it's right now, we're actually in the middle of really reassessing that and making sure that we're on track with that. The plan that we've had put in front of us is the mid-20s, where we really feel we can do that. We want to make sure that based on all the engineering, and remember, there's a lot of this, we're not doing this like Apollo. I just really want to stress that again. Just like Perseverance, we're not doing like we did Viking. For example, the University of Michigan built 2 systems that are right now sitting on the surface of Mars, right, in Perseverance. So we have contractors, we have startups. In Perseverance, we had over 1,000 contractors, some of them from Michigan, other 43 states outside of Michigan. So the same is true here, right? What we're really trying to do is make sure that we go as a commercial community and, with Elon and everybody. You mentioned him, but, it's one of many as also the international community, because we think that makes us a better world. So that's what we're doing.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned contractors and startups. You have an entrepreneurial streak in you as well. You were the founding director of the Center for Entrepreneurship at the U of M College of Engineering during your U of M days. So tell me a little bit, what are the opportunities for startups and entrepreneurship when it comes to space exploration?
Yeah, it's an incredibly good time to ask that question. I remember I was really needy for students, and I signed a number of my students on the space system side up for entrepreneurship classes. And now I look like a really wise guy, because a number of these people have companies now or are in startups. In fact, just this week, we expect 2 more companies to go public. Right. Yeah. So we have
Rocket Lab is going public. They're going to raise $750 million, build another medium lift vehicle. Right. Yeah,
exactly right. And we had Astra just with a similar type of story. And there's others that are under consideration. Many of them are SPAC mergers. Some of them have a different kind of path. But kind of the point is, this is a place where the private investment has gone now in a multi-billion level. And it really is taking off, not just on the launch side, which Rocket Lab is, but also on the imaging side of Earth, but as well as other service businesses. And I've built actually in my program a number of elements that are fully focused on services, like the commercial lunar payload services is a very forward-leaning, service-based entrepreneurial type of activity that, frankly, without the Center for Entrepreneurship at Michigan would have never come up with, right? It's just really understanding what it takes for the government to kickstart some of these new markets.
Mm-hmm. All right, so we're coming up towards the end of the segment, and I know a lot of people are going to want to keep tracking your progress. I know NASA has an app where you can go and watch NASA TV and get further information, but what other ways can people track what you guys are doing with the program?
So we are on all social media platforms. If you looked at the internet, it's mars.nasa.gov if you're a Martian. Or if you wanted to watch TV and any one of those mouse stuff, it's nasa.gov/life. I'm on Twitter at Dr._Thomas C. I'll be happy, make yourself known, and I'll be happy to connect it with wherever you want to go. On Twitter, NASA is very strong, has a series of accounts. So start following us, give us feedback. And, we think that what we're learning from all this is not just about Mars, but the power of humans to do amazing things, whether it's a startup, whether it's a Mars lander, or whether it's a COVID vaccine. It's this kind of humans together can just do amazing things. That makes us full of hope, and you all feel, I hope, the same way.
Traditional four-year students love Lawrence Technological University's thriving campus life, but LTU has always met non-traditional students' needs too. Lawrence Tech offers over 100 degree and certificate programs that can get adult students started or back on track. And most of our classes are conveniently offered evenings at our beautiful Southfield campus or online, so you can balance your social, family, and work life even while you power up your career. Lawrence Tech, where Blue Devils dare.